"Hey friends, starting tomorrow I'm officially going on vacation," exclaimed Sasha, beaming with joy as the girls gathered over lunch coffee. "I don't have any grand plans. I'm just going to bliss out in front of the TV. So stop by for a visit if you'd like. I've got some homemade jam that's just unparalleled. And if you bring a cake, I won't say no." There was a pause, then Valia tried calling again. After that, she resorted to a loud knock on the door. She couldn't help but wonder if her friend had forgotten their plans. Relief swept over her when she heard the quiet sound of footsteps. The door creaked open, but instead of Sasha, a diminutive older woman in her 70s appeared in the doorway. The old woman looked over Valia with curiosity and a hint of a smile, and then asked loudly, "Who are you?" Valia was taken aback. Sasha hadn't said anything about living with her grandmother. "I'm Valia. Is Sasha home?" she asked, raising her voice slightly to be heard by the old woman. "Sasha is not back yet, dear. Speak up, granddaughter. My hearing is no longer the same," the old woman replied, gesturing for Valia to enter the house. Valia shrugged her shoulders and, taking off her shoes in the hallway, headed away from her grandmother to look around the room. It radiated a soothing coziness. Delicate floral curtains danced in the wind and orchids bloomed on the windowsills, filling the space with the breath of nature. Bright yellow plaid decorated the sofa, seeming to intensify the sunlight streaming through the windows. But what captivated Valia the most were the photographs that adorned the walls. The many framed and unframed pictures depicted generations of family members. Smiles, frowns, laughter. Each face carried a story, inviting her to reflect on their lives. Among them, Valia looked for Sasha's grandmother, but couldn't find her. "These are all our relatives and Sasha is here," an elderly voice chimed in, directing Valia's attention with a slight gesture. Valia's gaze fell on a young, radiant woman leaning trustingly against a tall, imposing man, probably her husband. The older woman's voice trembled as she spoke. "There is no one left in this world but me and Sasha." The revelation struck Valia deeply. Sasha had never mentioned her parents, and now she seemed to be orphaned. She was overcome with longing. She noticed a large bowl of water and crumpled newspapers on the windowsill. The old woman was always cleaning the windows. It seemed strange to Valia. Why didn't Sasha help with the household chores? Did her friend leave everything to her elderly grandmother? "Let me help you, it's easy for me," Valia said loudly, and without waiting for an answer, she started to work. With only 3 windows at her disposal, Valia quickly completed the task, losing track of time. Her grandmother, known as Gertrude, or simply Goethe, used to recount passages from her youth when she was a secretary in a noisy factory. It was there that she met her husband. Barbara Goethe recalled with pleasure how she organized concerts, subotniks, and guided misguided youth to the path of truth. She told of how she intervened in the affairs of families when husbands or wives went astray or succumbed to drunkenness. Their efforts were not in vain. They saved many from folly and kept families intact, guided by genuine compassion and moral duty. Goethe also told about Sasha's parents, telling about their noble profession as geologists. By tragic accident, they died 11 years ago in a helicopter crash deep in the Taiga. Tears came to the old woman's eyes, and she was silent, bowing her head in sorrow. Since Sasha was nowhere to be found, and her calls went unanswered, Valia said goodbye to Baba Goethe, drinking tea and eating a piece of delicious pie. Promising to return the next day, she left with a heavy heart of worry for her missing friend. Alexander returned home late Saturday night, weighed down by the day's events. The morning's quarrel with his friend had left him in quiet resentment. Valia was also silent, her resentment stemming from the fact that Sasha was unwilling to fulfill her wish to purchase a cute, fluffy puppy she had seen on the internet. She longed to brag about it on social media, However, Sasha's practical considerations dampened her enthusiasm. He questioned whether she was ready for the fact that caring for a pet was a responsibility beyond a mere hobby. Varia's impulsive response, offering to give up the pet if she got tired of it, deeply hurt Sasha. Offended and calling her tedious and stingy, he found himself driven out of the house by Varia. With a spoiled mood, Sasha went to a friend's house out of town, turning off the phone to avoid further confrontation with Varia, with whom he had started dating only recently. Only after returning home, the grandmother told about the unexpected visit of a kind soul named Valia. She not only helped with the household chores, but also gave Sasha a homemade cake, a gesture that at first perplexed him, but he soon put the puzzle together. "Hey Grandma, what about switching from Valia to Varia?" Sasha suggested, his voice tinged with curiosity. His grandmother pondered for a moment, then gave a nonchalant shrug, her weathered shoulders rising and falling. "Maybe it is Varia after all. My hearing isn't what it used to be. But that girl, she's a real beauty. You should marry her. She'd make a great partner and homemaker. I'd love to see your kids, great-grandkids." Sasha grinned and wrapped his arms around his grandmother, feeling a surge of happiness. Varia wasn't as shallow as he had initially judged her to be. Perhaps he had misinterpreted her actions. She had shown concern, after all, by visiting his home. And she wasn't half bad. In fact, she was pretty awesome. Deciding not to delay, Sasha made a mental note to buy that puppy for Varia. The girl deserved some happiness, he reckoned. The following morning, Sasha wasted no time in heading over to Varia's place. But before he did, he made a quick call to the dog's owner, jotting down the girl's number. On his way, he swung by the vet pharmacy, picking up dog food, a bowl, and all the necessary supplies for the new addition. With everything in hand, he whisked the puppy away in a shiny new carrier. On a whim, he stopped by a flower stand, purchasing a bouquet of lilacs. It seemed like a nice touch, something his grandmother would approve of. Arriving at Varia's apartment, Sasha rang the doorbell multiple times before it finally creaked open, revealing a sleepy-eyed Varia. "Changed your mind about apologizing?" she grumbled, eyeing the lilacs skeptically. "Could have sprung for roses. Varenka, I realize I may have misjudged you yesterday." Sasha began earnestly, extending the bouquet. "But you've pleasantly surprised me. Grandma really took a liking to you, and she's got a good eye for people. And that cake of yours, it's fantastic. You caught me off guard in a good way. Shame you didn't wait for me, though. I had my phone switched off." Varia furrowed her brow. "What grandma? What cake?" she asked, bewildered. "I don't cook, and I'm definitely not moving in with your family. You might want to keep that in mind when you're thinking about proposing. And as for expecting anyone, I wasn't." Sasha felt a knot form in his stomach. Somehow, he no longer felt inclined to reconcile with Varia. He handed her the lilacs and silently made his way down the stairs. "Hey, where are you off to? Who's supposed to be doing the apologizing?" The girl hollered after him, but Sasha kept walking without a glance back. Sliding into his car, Sasha mulled over who might have paid him a visit yesterday. He couldn't recall any other Varia in his circle. Or was it Valia after all? He shook his head, dismissing the idea. He didn't know any Val. Scratching the back of his head, he suddenly heard a soft whimper. The puppy, he hadn't taken it with him. He had wanted to surprise Varia, but now he decided against giving it to her. Instead, he'd take it home. It could be a companion. As he ascended to the second floor, Sasha mused that his grandmother would likely approve of the puppy. She adored dogs. He reminisced about Richie, the clever and loyal dog who had been a cherished member of their family for nearly 18 years. Sasha had fond memories of him from his childhood. With a smile playing on his lips at the recollection, he pushed open the door to the apartment, only to be greeted by the sound of joyous laughter, light and genuine. Entering the kitchen, Sasha found his beloved grandmother in animated conversation with a stranger. They seemed to be sharing a moment of shared amusement. Spotting Sasha, Grandma Gerta exclaimed, "Finally, Sashenka, we've been waiting for you. And who might this be?" Ignoring his grandmother's question, Sasha found himself captivated by the stranger's wide eyes, still flushed with laughter. There was an inexplicable familiarity about her, as if he had known her for ages. Had he conjured her up, only for her to arrive? "Are you Sasha?" the girl inquired, clearly taken aback. "I was expecting my friend Sasha. I'm sorry," she apologized, rising from the table. "I must have gotten the wrong address." Valia pulled a crumpled piece of paper out of her jeans pocket and handed it to her grandmother, Gerta. The older woman looked at it and nodded understandingly. "Ah, right, but wrong," Grandma Gerta confirmed with a grin. "You were looking for house 64, and ours is 64A. They built these two houses next to each other, each with 4 entrances. For those unfamiliar with the layout, it's just a recipe for confusion. But as luck would have it," she added with a mischievous grin, looking at Sasha and Valia, "your confusion was destined. Your cake was a hit, wasn't it, Sashenka?" Moments later, Valia and Baba Gerta were showering affection on a fluffy puppy with soulful black eyes. Sasha watched them, feeling grateful for the construction error that had brought them together. A week later, Alexander got down on one knee and proposed to Vala. Grandma Gerta glowed with happiness, blessing this union.